understand sample, action, outcome, and event. So 4 vocabulary words. I think it's kind of weird that digits did not do this before we started doing probability. Like, I think if I'm going to teach this to my 7th graders in 2 years, I'm going to do this lesson before I start all the other probability stuff. So it's kind of backwards. All right, so let's look at what some of these words mean, and then we're going to relate it back to our game, deal or no deal, to kind of help you have some background knowledge on this. Okay, so the first word that we need to know is action. Okay, action is whatever you're doing. So whether it's you're rolling dice or you're spinning a spinner, that is what the action is. Okay, so when we were playing deal or no deal, what would the action have been? Gunner.
Picking the suitcases.
Picking the suitcase. That's exactly what the action is. So picking the case is the action here. Okay, that is the action. Every time we were picking a case, and then we were figuring out the probability. Okay, so that is your action. All right, the second one is the outcome. An outcome is the number of things that could have happened. Okay, so we're going to put in here that this represents a number. Okay, because that's important that you understand that. So basically, if I said the action was picking a case, how many outcomes, how many things could I choose from? Who remembers? A little more than 24? There were 26 cases. Okay, there were 26 cases. So that is the outcome. I had 26 different outcomes for that game, things that could have happened. Okay. Sample space. Sample space means every single outcome listed out. Okay, so if I was rolling a dice, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That is the sample space. If I was flipping a coin, my sample space would be heads or tails. Okay, so it's literally listing out all of them. How many would we have to list out here? 26, and that would take us a long time. So we're going to abbreviate. In our game of deal or no deal, it went all the way from 1 cent, and it went all the way to 1 million. So again, I'm not going to write out each one. I'm just going to kind of put it like that. But know that sample space is every single thing that could happen. Okay? So those are the 3 big ones, and then I'll do event here as we get going. All right, so let's practice using those vocabulary words. This is a good reference slide for you to look back on. All right, so this first one, okay? Our action is 1 spin of a spinner. And if you say, why are you saying 1? It's because before we test over this unit, I'm going to teach you compound probability. And compound is when you do something 2 times. So 1 time is simple probability. So the action, I spin the spinner. And my first question is, what is the sample space? Okay, if you need to look back, you can. What is the sample space? Emmy? 1 through, is it 1 through 9?
Yeah.
You sure?
0 through 9.
0 through 9, because 0 is 1. So our sample space, remember, is every single one listed out. So our sample space is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? Then we have the outcomes. How many outcomes are there? I heard one person say it.
10.
There's 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would be 10 outcomes. There are 10 different things that can happen when we spin it. Okay? Which is what we've been doing in probability. Every time we've been figuring probability, we've said this many out of how many, and even I've used the word outcomes, which again is why I think this lesson should have been prior to us doing probability stuff. All right, next slide. All right, so another type. The band director chooses 1 trumpet player at random to lead the band in the holiday parade. List all of the outcomes in the sample space for this action. How many outcomes are in the sample space? So our action is choosing a band member. That's our action. Okay, what is our sample space? Nick, what's our sample space? What? 1 through 8? You sure? Emmy?
James and Julie.
James through Julie, right? James, Jenny, Raul, Seth, Sarah, Maria, Jenny, Julie. Lots of J names here, okay? So instead of us having to spend the time to write every single name down in the sample space, You may just draw arrows to each person if you want, to make sure that you remember. Sample space is every single one. Okay, that is your sample space. Okay, next one says number of outcomes in the sample space. What would be the number of outcomes? Bobby? 8. There are 8. There are 8 different things that could happen. There are 8 different kids he could choose. So that is the sample space. Okay. All right, so that was the 3 words of action, which is whatever you're doing, whether it's rolling dice, picking a band member, flipping a coin. Sample space, which sample space is listing everything that could possibly happen. And then the 3rd vocabulary word was outcomes. That's how many different things could happen in a number. Okay, so the next vocabulary word that was in our learning goal is event. Okay, so here's the last one we need to talk about. So an event is, whoops, let me erase some of that, is all the outcomes that could happen. So like this event, rolling a 3. That's like me saying, what is the probability of rolling a 3? It's specific. Okay, and so you have that. Or I could say, what is the probability of rolling an even number? Well, the only chances are 2, 4, and 6. That's the event that occurs, rolling a 2, 4, or a 6. Okay, so let's look at an example of that. All right, so right here, our event is to choose a boy. Okay, so the event is choosing a kid specifically. Oh, sorry, not event. The action is choosing a kid. The event is choosing a boy. Does that make sense? So I'm still picking a kid, but specifically I want to pick a boy. What are the events that could happen if I choose a boy? Layla?
There would only be 2 to choose from.
And who would those 2 be? I think there's more.
3.
3, right?
Yeah, 3.
So there's James.
Seth and
Okay. And weird enough, James and Seth look almost identical. So we're going to assume they're brothers. All right. And then we have Raul, who has almost the same features in his face. So maybe he's their cousin. Okay. All right. Okay. Separated at birth. Okay. All right. And then the event. Choose a person wearing a striped shirt. Who would I pick for that?
Sarah.
Raul.
Oh, you got to choose a boy.
Not on this one. This one is just a person wearing a striped shirt. So we can have Raul again or
Sarah.
Okay? And that would be my event. All right, let's look at this with a spinner. Jenny had a striped shirt? Did we miss one? No. No, Jenny is solid. This Jenny is solid.
She got
No.
no stripe.
Nope, solid. Okay, next one. All right, so this one says the action, 1 spin of a spinner. So that's our action. The event, the spinner stops on an odd number. So the event is specifically what's going to happen. So which numbers are in this event? Morgan.
1, 3, 5, 7, 9.
Very good. So that is the event. So we've got it in words. The spinner stops on an odd. Which numbers are in the event? All of these. Okay? All right, this next one, I'm going to make you go backwards. Okay? So this one I say, the action is 1 spin of the spinner. Okay? But the event is 3, 6, and 9. So now I want the verbal phrase. What is the verbal phrase that matches that event?
Action.
What is the verbal phrase? Sophie. Okay, how are we going to put that, Gavin?
All numbers that are
I agree. Is there a way that we could say it that would multiple of 3, right? So this would be land on a multiple of 3. and the event would be 3, 6, and 9. Okay. All right. On the next slide, there's some matching. I want you, if you're in mode like I am, not in presentation mode, you should be able to click on each one and drag it to the right location. So you should be able to click on this and drag it to where you want to put it. So I want you to see if you can match all of those up in the spaces. All right, so let's do the first action. What goes in this first box right here? Rihanna. Very good. Roll a number cube is the action here, okay? What would be the sample space, Brandon? Very good. And what would be the event, Dakota?
Roll a number less than 3.
Very good. Roll a number less than 3. All right, the next one, what would be the action, Gunner?
Spin the spinner.
Spin the spinner. Very good. And the sample space, Isaiah?
Blue, red, green.
Blue, red, green. And then, of course, that leaves our event as the spinner stops on blue. Okay? All right. After doing this last one, I don't really like this one that much, so I think I'm going to stop there.